Yeah, I've been to Swansea a few times, obviously, because we have Michael Obafemi there and Cyrus Christie and Ryan Manning playing together. And it's the first time in his career, Michael, that he's had a run of consecutive games. And it's very hard for young players in the Premier League to get that. Just the standard is so high and squads are so big. So they moved to Swansea, which is a great club and a great platform to really do well in the Championship. And you can see really the improvement in his play. I've seen him do aspects of his play that I hadn't seen previously with Swansea. His hold of play has really come on well, and he's shown great football intelligence aligned to the speed that he's got, the natural speed he's got. So the performance I've seen recently from Swansea are better than I've ever seen from him. So his rate of improvement has been very high, and obviously 12 doesn't take penalties, and he scored 12 goals in 16 games, so he's done very well.
And what's your relationship like with him?
Oh, Michael's great. Yeah, I've had a few meetings with Michael, and listen, if everyone was the same, life would be dull. Michael's a charismatic guy, and I know he's very proud to play for Ireland, and he's excited about coming in, and he's speaking about family coming to Ireland for the games and so forth. So he's looking forward to it.
And is it a concern that Irish players' involvement in the Premier League this season has fallen for a record low in terms of minutes on the pitch?
Yeah, that's a big question, overall. But I think we just got to concentrate on the players that we've got, and myself as manager. We've had a sort of radical overhaul of players over the last year, and we've got a strong squad now, and I think we've missing some really good players. Matt Doherty has been one of our best players over the last year and a half for sure, is missing, and Adam Ida, who really was coming into his own at Norwich, and Andrew Omabamidele, who's been exceptional for us. They're out of the squad. They're not available, but yeah, we still have a lot of options, and that's we're going to need everyone with 4 games in 10 days. And two travels, one to Armenia, 7 hours, the time difference, and to get ready for that game, come back and play the 2 games, and then go to Poland. So it's a big challenge for us.
Gavin? Hey Stephen, you told us about CJ Hamilton. Is it a case of him contacting you to say he was eligible for Ireland?
No, not quite. No, but obviously he was someone that I had little information on, to be honest. I know he played his first 14 years, or he lived his first 14 years in Waterford, played in the Kennedy Cup for Waterford, but then he went to England, and he came really, the road less travelled to come through the conference in England for a couple of years, and up through League 2 and League 1 and into the Championship, and it's a very interesting journey, and obviously he's a very, very quick left winger, a lot of pace. He plays on the right as well, and he can play on either wing for Blackpool, and he has a very good attitude, and he's made a good contribution. And he's had to contend with some injuries over the last year. He broke his metatarsal, which kept him out for the start of the season, and then it didn't heal properly, so he had to contend with that. And but in the second half of the season, he made a good impact for Blackpool.
Is this the first squad that he was ever eligible for in terms of?
It is, yeah. Yeah, it is, yeah.
Festy Ebosele is called up as well. I mean, do you see him as right wing back?
No, I really see him as a right winger. I think, in my opinion, at the moment, I see him as a right winger. But I think he's someone who can play right wing back, and that was a factor in the selection as well. I think we need, because Seamus Coleman missed the game against Arsenal last weekend with a groin issue, and so we just have to make sure that we're covered in that early with Cyrus Christie, obviously, and we've other players who can play there, and Festy is another player, gives it an attacking option. I don't see him really as a defender, but wing back isn't necessarily a defensive position, depending on who you're playing and what your tasks are within that game. He can come from deep and be effective as a wing back. So but he not every game he's played has been perfect. He's still learning, and but his speed really frightens defenders. And I see the game. These games with the pitch been big in these games. Like I think against Ukraine and Scotland, no one's going to sit in, and I think the games will be really stretched and speed will be important. And even Armenia are not seeming to sit in at all. They quite an attacking set up the way they play, and so I don't see any of the games really with a low block as such. So I think it's the games will be stretched and open.
And just lastly, is Seamus a doubt for Armenia?
No, he'll be okay. He'll be okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Any further questions in the live section?
Stephen, you talked about Michael's improvement over the last few months. There's also Aaron Conley. Where is he sort of pecking order at the moment?
Yeah, Aaron, is not in the squad, of course, and he doesn't feel right himself. He feels the heel that he's been playing with and getting injections with towards the end of the season to play, that it's caused him a lot of discomfort, and so he wasn't available for selection. But I think obviously he's had a long period. I think players, when you talk to some people in England, when you're going around the clubs and a lot of the coaches, they often say disregard a player's first loan. That's a saying that they sort of have. That listen, I said, how do you mean? They say most first loans are not always successful, and he played a lot of games for Middlesbrough, and that was good experience from. I'm sure if he has another loan move, he'll be better for it.
And you expect he probably will get a fresh loan on his next season?
I've no knowledge of that, but it's you would suspect that would be the case.
Just as well, I can ask the speculation that John Eustace might get the Watford job. Is there any genuine concern that you might have to look for another new coach there?
It wasn't really a concern. No, that it didn't materialise. That wasn't a factor.
Sean?
Stephen, this
Hey,
window would be your longest with the squad since the Spain camp last week. I know there's a few travel days involved, but how valuable is that extended period with the side?
Yeah, it is. It's an 18-day camp, and we're viewing it like a tournament, and it is. And sometimes if you go to a tournament, the max a lot of countries will play is 4 games. So unless teams really progress, and it's we have to view it like that, and we have to prepare it accordingly. It's different. Some of the players finished 4 weeks ago, some finished 3 weeks ago, and some finished this week. So, Damien Doyle has sent out, even to all the players a lot of the players on standby, heart rate monitor, GPS units, so the players have been, wherever they've been, they've had to log their stuff every day, to make sure they're ready to come in, ready to go, and we have a record of everything that everyone has done, and we have to, because it is a challenge. You don't play for 4 weeks, that becomes 6 weeks again. The match is, and then how do you get up to speed? So it is a challenge for some players. Obviously Nathan and Seamus just finished last week, and so we have to sort of modify and look at everyone on an individual basis to try and maximise their physical capacity.
Okay, we've finished the live section now, if that's okay, and we'll switch to the embargoed section. So from this point on, it is 11 PM tonight, so we can finish recording the live section. And who wants the first question for our embargoed? Aidan, if you want to first.
Steve, just got a lot of strikers coming in. Have had a good season. Chidozie and can get promoted. But midfield looks a bit like, first of all, Josh Cullen is suspended for the first game. Is that?
Yeah.
Would that midfield be concerned just with Connor and Jeff not playing as much football as they'd like? Just because the midfielders haven't had a great year.
It just shows you, like, Conor Hurlan, his attitude, for example, how he's always like at the maximum out of his body. Like, he's not naturally as athletic as Alan Brown, as Jeff Hendrick, as Josh Cullen. He just wasn't born with that physical capacity that they have, but he maxes everything that out of his body. He's such an incredible pro. And when he got knocked out of the playoffs, he rang me the next morning and said he wasn't due to. Some players are coming in Sunday. The Premier League players are the Sheffield lads, because they need a little bit of a break. The other players are coming in Saturday morning for an in-house game Sunday and the training Saturday. And Conor wanted to come in early. He didn't want to report. He wanted to come in early for the extra training for the game. The in-house game. Wanted to play in that. Jeff, we've been monitoring all their sessions. He's played a good bit with QPR, maybe not enough that we ideally where we would want. And Connor's made some good contributions to Sheffield United as well. He was in and out, but he did play. So yeah, Jason Malumbi got back in the team at West Brom and played a lot of games this year as well. And Alan Brown, of course, has been playing a lot of games for his captain of Preston and done well. And I say Josh missed the first game, but he'll be there for the other three. So we generally only play two in those positions. So that's it.
Philip?
Stephen, you say you're treating it as a tournament, the 4 games in 80 days. What would be a good tournament?
I think, most people, neutral observers would view us as third favourites, probably behind Ukraine and Scotland, and probably ahead of Armenia, and that's probably a fair assessment. But for us, we would love to win the group. That would be our ambition, to try and win the group, and we know that if we could achieve that, we know that it would give us a second seeding in the European Championship draw, and we know that it would get us promoted into the A League of the Nations League, which is the real top table, which every country would want to aspire to be, So and I think all the teams are capable of taking points off each other, and so we want to absolutely try and fulfil our potential over the 6 games, between the 4 games in June and the 2 in September.
Just on the point, do you feel in some ways, I know the situation in Ukraine is awful, and it's non-football, it's terrible, but their preparations can't have been perfect for the rest of going into. They're playing Scotland in the World Cup playoff. One of them's going to go out. One of them has been a bit of a low. Do you kind of feel this is an opportunity that maybe the opposition is not as best prepped as it could be, whereas you seem to have most of your props in place?
Yeah, I don't really look at it like that. I think, to be honest, you're right about Ukraine. It is it's a tragedy. Russia's invaded Ukraine. It's a war. The game was supposed to be in Kiev. It was supposed to be then moved to Lviv, and now it's moved to Poland. And the fact that it's happening at all is a miracle. And the games themselves, the home game, in 50 years' time, it'll be a significant game in Irish football history, because Russia has invaded. Thousands have died in Ukraine. Thousands more will die. And I think it's President Zelensky has made the decision to let... we've seen a situation where Ukrainian people from Ireland have gone into the Ukraine to defend their nation and have died. We've seen that situation. So President Zelensky's decided to let the Ukraine national team represent the country at this time, and I think he's right, because people can get fatigued and forget it, switch off the war. But Ukraine playing highlights that, because if anything from history, we've learned that when one country invades another, it doesn't stop there. And Russia are not just talking about invading Ukraine; they're talking about invading other countries. So I think this game is a significant game in modern history. The Ukrainian game with Scotland and the Ukrainian game with Ireland, and certainly for us as a nation, it is a significant game in our history, in our football history.
John Fallon?
Hey Stephen, back to kind of more mundane matters, selection. Just with your goalkeepers, you know how well Gavin has done, but the fact that Queevy have played the last 2, does that give him a bit more chance of being your number 1?
And of course Mark has had an outstanding season, and it is a dilemma, and one that we'll have to consider, and it's genuine competition there, and they're the sort of headaches that we want, and so the 3 keepers have done brilliantly. Gavin was really exceptional in the campaign, like really exceptional. Queevy obviously has come in and played with Liverpool at that level, and Mark has just played in a team that's got promoted to the Premier League every week. So these are these are the good dilemmas, but not easy selections, I must confess, and it's something that obviously I can't really elaborate on now, because we haven't even gone into camp, and obviously it's something that we have to consider later at the time.
And just on that, is rotation a possibility given the 4 games?
Again, this is something that we'll have to look at. It would be unusual to have rotation in we can't rule it out. But yeah, that would be unusual. I think. So I'm not going to say there definitely will be.
Just a final one for me. You mentioned about the improvement in Michael's game, in terms of different aspects to it, but as you know, he has had his attitude questioned by both his managers, Swansea and Southampton. Have you sensed an improvement in that? Did it need to improve in terms of his application, his lifestyle, his all-round approach?
Well, I think Russell Martin, the Swansea manager, has been very good for him, and I think they have a very good relationship, and he has managed to get the best out of Michael at club level, and none of us are perfect, and I think Michael is different, a bit different. He's learning. He's a young player. He's learning all the time himself, and I'm hoping he can make a good contribution in this window. And I know it's a big moment from coming back into the squad, and I'm sure he wants to do well. And after the run of form he's had, we would have preferred that the run of form was up to last week and we're taking him in. The 3 or 4 week break breaks that up, but it's certainly his form has been very good, and I've been to see him a few times, and he's improved in a lot of aspects of his game that I would have seen before. He was always a threat with his pace, anything over the top, always a threat, but he's shown to have a bit of an all-round game for Swansea, and that's encouraging.
Neil?
Stephen, just on Ukraine there's obviously going to be, you would imagine, a lot of emotional energy for them. Is that something you try to match within your squad, or do you steer away from that? It's about cool heads and being tactically switched on?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's something that we'll have to, I think at the end of the day we just have to focus on the football really once the match happens, and focus on tactical elements of the game and performing well ourselves once the game happens. I think that's will be a meant a certain occasion, but we do have to focus on the game itself and how we can perform well, and because in a sporting context,
And just Enda Stevens, he started your reign in the team. He's had a lot of kind of injuries. I know he came back from the Portugal game, but he probably hasn't really featured over the last kind of 8-10 games that much. Does he have an important role going forward?
Yeah, Enda's very important for us, I think. He's a terrific player. Obviously had some tough time with injuries over the last 18 months, and but he had a good run of form for Sheffield United, but he missed the playoff, the second leg, which was unfortunate for him. Him and James McLean both bring injuries into camp, to be honest. James obviously had a spell with a knee injury that ruled him out of a lot of Wigan's games. He came back and played in the last game to win the league for Wigan, but he pulled a thigh muscle in that game, and so he had a grade 2 thigh injury in that last game, so he's recovering from that at the moment, and he's had a scan this week, and it's good news, and he'll come into camp on Friday, but won't hit the ground running, so we'll need a little bit of time to get ready. And Enda as well has had obviously the injury that ruled him out the second leg, which is sort of bone bruising and on the knee. But he's been rehabbing at Sheffield United. He's rehabbing today, and we expect to have him fully fit for next week.
Paul, and then we'll end with Aidan.
Stephen, what level would you like to see Capital play at next season?
What level? Right.
And just on Shane Duffy as well, I know he's been on the bench, but
Yeah, it's not been ideal for Shane. I think that's right. Because the type of player he is, rhythm. To get rhythm playing matches is important for him, and he had a very good first half of the season with Brighton, and carried that into his international form, and it was very good. And obviously he's not been in the team, so it is a challenge for him. That's why we're bringing him in an extra day early, and have organised a practice match on the Sunday, and he will play in that, and he'll need a run in that, and we'll be linking him with our own 21s as well, for our own under 21 team on the Sunday with that, you know. And so Shane is coming in. The Premier League players are in Sunday to get a week break, but Shane's coming in Saturday morning because he needs to train and needs to play in that game on Sunday and get that under his belt. And we're aware of that, and we need to try and get up to speed on that, you know, in regarding that. But he's a brilliant character, and he brings a lot. Obviously, scored 4 goals. You know, has been scoring goals and brings a lot to the team. Other qualities, and you know, he is an important player for us. He is an important player for sure. Gavin, what level? It's a good question. I think wherever he goes, if he's going to, just that we need him to play, whether that'll be in the Championship. There has been talk the Premier League. He should play regularly in the Premier League. That would be absolutely brilliant. If he's playing in the Championship, you know, I think that's still a good move for where he is, how old he is. On, I think to play every week it would be ideal for him.
And Vain.
I was going to ask you about Shane Duffy. Stephen, just Graham Potter was talking about him recently. He said that he plans to sit down at the end of the season. Shane obviously hasn't played as much as he'd like. He mentioned international football. He said, I know it's a big passion for Shane, and he will be part of the conversation. Do you have those? Like, I think Sixth squad are out on loan, like the Jeff as well. Do you have that conversation with Shane? I'm not saying you need to tell him to move, but or does that come from them that they know that they need football to be in the regular squad?
Yeah, I'm not going to preempt like what Shane does in the future. Like I think, but probably like anyone else, you know, who's 30 years of age, and when they're not a regular in the team, they want to go and play regularly, and I would say that's on the forefront of his mind. But he's well capable of speaking for himself, and because he still has so much to give as a centre back over the next few years. He's still many years ahead of him as a centre back, and I'm sure several years with Ireland still, and he's a big character in the squad, and great values in the squad. He around the place, very good.
Okay, thanks guys. And we'll finish up though. We'll do the Sundays in the boardroom. So if you want to do the Sunday sessions, we'll start.
Yeah.
at
Okay. Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
just one more then.
Yeah, thank you. Just very quickly, the Norwich lads have no chance of being involved.
No.
No, you said I had a chance here earlier.
They're definitely. I know Andrew is back on the grass, running and doing okay. He's had a stress fracture in his back. That's been the injury, and Adam obviously it was a bad knee injury, and so I think they're just looking at really being ready for the new season. That's where they are.